You know what? I think I can see the future. And I'm not joking. I think I can actually see the future. Okay, not the future regarding everything, but the future regarding the forex markets. You know, in my last video, I told you that I'll just hop over to the charts now. In my last video, I showed you my AUD USD trade that that I had taken. Remember, I said price was, as at the time I did the video, price was somewhere around here. And I said I was waiting for price to come back up and fill the imbalance here from here to here. Okay. So, and remember I said that my stop loss was on this red line here at the bottom, but that I usually use a soft stop loss, not a hard one, because a lot of the time price comes down and bounces off my stop loss. Remember I mentioned that I would not close the trade unless price, an hourly bar closed below my stop loss. That's it, closed below this red line. Okay, guess what price did? Price came all the way down. Remember I said when I enter a trade, I usually pray that price actually goes against me so I can enter at a better price. Now, price actually went down, touched my stop loss, which is this red line here, and then bounced off. Okay. Now, at this red line, I actually entered another trade, like I mentioned I usually do. Okay. It bounced off, hovered a bit, came back down in the rollover price action and bounced off that line again. Okay. And then shot up. It immediately shot up. Where do you think it stopped? Where do you think price stopped? It stopped almost exactly where my take profit was. Remember I said I was waiting for it to fill this imbalance. And price stopped almost dead on my take profit. So it gave me my take profit and immediately reversed back down. Okay. So I think from now on, I'm going to be called Future Liran FX. Just joking. But this is just to tell you the power of building your own strategy. The power I've been stressing and going on and on about building your own strategy. When you build your own strategy and backtest your own strategy, you will have confidence in that strategy because you know the ins and outs of that strategy. Now, there's a downside to having a strategy or having strategies with a high win rate. The downside is at a point you actually start to feel like a god. At a point you start to feel invincible. At a point you start to feel like nothing you do can go wrong. And that is actually quite dangerous. I've actually been caught out a few times because of that. Because at some point, it starts to feel like anything I do works. Anything I do works. Any trade I take works. Any trade I take hits take profit. And remember, because the reward to risk is small, take profit is very easy to reach. I rarely have instances where it goes halfway and comes back to take out my stop loss. And that's because the reward to risk is low. But there are times, because there's no strategy that's 100%. There are times that it goes in favor of my trade for a bit and then suddenly reverses back down and hits my stop loss. But that is rare. And at such times, I take a bigger loss than I would normally do. Remember I said I enter another leg when it gets closer to my stop loss. Okay. But like I was saying, the downside to having a strategy with a high win rate is that at some point you start to become reckless, where because it works almost every time, you then start to become reckless and risk more than you should risk. Normally I risk big, but even at such times I run the risk of risking even bigger than I should be risking. But again, there's no strategy, there's no business, there's no investment strategy that is risk free. That's the truth of the matter. It's either you are trading a strategy with a high a low win rate and a high reward to risk, which means that you will have to grapple with the risk of making lots of losses, or you trade a strategy that has a high win rate and a low reward to risk, but then grapple with the risk of you thinking that you are invincible and throwing risk to, throwing risk out of the window. But one way or another, you will have to grapple with some sort of risk and find ways to mitigate those risks. But again, I think I'll rename my channel Future Liran FX. But yes, if you want to see more future trades, more trades where I predict the future, subscribe to this channel. See you in the next video.